Speaking of the 2000 Giants, there are 6 almost champions remaining. So what we're about to find out from the committee are the guys and the teams that finished 6, 5, 4, and 3. There'll be 2 left. So we'll know the top 2 almost champions over the last 40 years. Will Tiki's 2000 Giants be revealed today, or are they going to finish in the top 2? How do my Mets teams do? Because both Met almost champions are still in. Both Knicks almost champions are still in, and the 0-1 Yankees are still there. So let's find out. Almost champions created by the committee here at WFAN. I don't know who's on the committee. No one has ever revealed who's on it. I did run into Craig Carton today. Is it possible Craig's on the committee? Probably not, because I don't think he knows half the guys on this team.
No shot he's on the committee.
But you never know.
I mean, you could just have a clueless committee member.
Wow, right? That's true. But the committee did this on Beloved, on success, on how they brought the city together. There were a lot of factors on how they decided to rank these teams. So, ladies and gentlemen, number 6.
Number 6, the 2015 New York Mets.
Here's the payoff pitch from Familia to Fowler on the way. And it's in there, strike 3 called. The Mets win the pennant. The New York Mets have won the National League pennant. Put it in the books. The New York Mets, for the first time in 15 years, are champions of the National League. And they are mobbing each other out behind the pitcher's mound. They have completed a 4-game sweep of the Chicago Cubs in the National League Championship Series. They win Game 4, 8-3. And now the disappointed crowd here at Wrigley Field begin to salute their Cubs, whose long streak, 70 years without a pennant, and back to 1908 without a World Series, will continue. And all of the focus now on the New York Mets. They're headed to the World Series.
Wow, you could hear Howie almost breaking up at the end.
Yeah.
This would have been number 1 to me. I gave this a lot of thought.
Why did you love that team so much?
I love that team because it came out of nowhere. It's very similar to 2024. The Mets, they got off to a good start that year. Then they struggled. They had no lineup to where when they acquired Juan Uribe and Kelly Johnson, they were heroes. And when they traded for Cespedes and that whole, 72-hour craziness between Wilmer Flores crying, they lose a game in the rain, they trade for Carlos Gomez, oh wait, they don't, then they get Cespedes, then Wilmer Flores hits a walk-off against the Nats on a Friday night, and he's crying out of excitement, then they sweep the Nationals, and they run away with the NL East. It was just crazy. It was like this crazy soap opera that as a Met fan, you felt like you lived through it.
Does that one sting a little more, though?
It feels like it should.
Well, especially because now the next year, the Cubs just go and say, oh, now we're winning the World Series.
The Cub thing doesn't affect me at all. What stings is that they lost, and what stings is how they lost. But here's the thing about almost champions. I would think all of these sting, because none of them won. Like, Tiki, you're proud of the 2000 Giants. I'm sure the Super Bowl stings. Like, it all stings. So what kind of comment is that?
Such an ass kicking. I don't.
Oh, so maybe it stings less?
It's just kind of like, dude, we have no shot.
Well,
maybe.
The perfect example is the 03 Yankees sting more than they should because of 04 with the Red Sox.
I think that's a little bit different because of who ended up beating you and the way they did it. But personally, the Cubs have no impact on me. Like, I get it. Like, you listen to that clip, and it's weird to think that the next year they won the World Series. Doesn't do anything for me. But I would have had them a lot higher. So, respectfully disagree with the committee.
I'm with you on that, Evan, and we fought about this before, so we don't have to fight again. But I still, and I will say this forever, the Mets had no shot in that series of beating the Royals. That was the Royals' year, coming off the year before. The Royals they weren't losing to anybody that year.
I disagree with that. Mets could have won that series. They didn't. It sucks. Let's hear number 5.
Number 5, the 2000 New York Mets.
Hampton to the windup. Now the pitch. A drive in the air to center field. Timo Perez jumps in the air, waiting for it to come down, makes the catch, and the New York Mets are the 2000 National League champions, and they'll be going to the World Series for the first time in 1986.
All right, here's the deal. And I had a feeling the Mets were going to be back-to-back. I had a feeling.
Why didn't we play Who Let the Dogs Out with that?
Well, Who Let the Dogs Out was being played. It was actually in the background, which you don't hear as well in that radio clip. But trust me, my memory will tell you they blasted Who Let the Dogs Out when they won. That 2000, and this really has nothing to do with the Yankees. I know you're not going to believe me, Sean. That's fine. The 15 team, to me, tingles me more than the 2000 team.
How come?
I think in 2000...
Because of everything you just said?
I think everything I just said. I think the journey was just so wild. Like, in 2000, they were close in 99. They didn't have to play the Braves in 2000. Not that I'm crying over it, but I don't know. It just... I didn't have the same connection with the 2000 team that I had with the 15 team. David Wright was on the 15 team. Yeah. Jake was on the 15 team.
But this is Piazza getting to the World Series, dude.
I get it. I love
This is knocking on the door. Everything that happened in 99. Come out. You finally break through there. First time since 86.
15 tingles with me more than 2000. And this is going to stun you. The 15 World Series pisses me off more.
It's ridiculous.
It should. You lost to the Royals.
We lost to the Royals. It was very similar in that both series were winnable. But at the end of the day, despite the Yankees only winning 87 games, they were dynasty. They were better than us. I don't believe the Royals were better than us. I believe the Yankees were. So, look, I'm not going to yell at the committee because maybe a lot of Met fans disagree with me. Clearly, Tommy does, and that's fine. I just disagree with
because both of you, they lost to the Royals. The Royals were in the World Series the year prior, and if it wasn't for Madison Bumgarner, they would have won back-to-back World Series.
That is
or
right.
Had they won the year prior, they probably wouldn't have been as determined. They added a bunch of players, Morales, Alexi Ramirez. They were a team on a mission. Losing to the freaking Yankees after Game 1 of that series, I vowed to myself, if you were smart, you'd stop watching sports for the rest of your life. That's how devastated I was. How were you not? This is where me and you just disagree. Devastated to lose that type of game to the Yankees.
I didn't say I wasn't devastated. I'm saying I was more devastated by 15. I think the difference was, I think in 2000, when the Yankees beat the Mariners, and Michael Kay screamed, "Get your tokens ready." Oh, God, that line still haunts me to this day.
Yeah.
When Big Head screamed, "Get your tokens ready," I knew we were losing to the Yankees. I knew it. I watched them win in 99. I watched them win in 98. They kick our ass all the time. They did it during the regular season. I just knew it. So even with the lead in Game 1, being in the building that night, deep in my soul, I knew we were losing. I really thought we were beating the Royals. I really did. With that lead in the ninth inning against Kansas City versus the lead in the ninth inning against the Yankees, there was something different.
Right.
And so I think that's what killed me more. And I understand where you're coming from, Tommy, because it's the Yankees versus the Royals. Of course, losing to the Yankees in terms of their fans and the city, of course that's far worse. I'm talking about, I really thought the Mets were going to win. I did. It's kind of like the Nets we did a few days ago. In 03, I thought they were winning a championship. In 02, I knew we were cooked. Right. The Lakers were going to play like we were their food, and we were. That's how it felt to me. So,
and I think you just, I don't want to use the word like, but you have better feelings towards the players on the 15 Mets than you do in 2000.
I do.
We're going to get to the Knicks here, I'm sure, in a second. Obviously, we know Patrick was on both teams, but they were basically different rosters, so you might like a team more than the other based on the players.
I have a strong opinion on the Knicks. Let's see where they are. We have 4 left. 2 Knicks teams, a Giant team, and a Yankee team. I have no idea where they're going to finish, but here's number 4 on Almost Champions.
Number 4, the 1999 New York Knicks.
I disagree.
And NBA history has just been made. The New York Knicks are the first 8th seed to ever make the NBA Finals. Jeff Van Gundy's wife in tears.
I completely disagree with this. Knicks fans, you got screwed. In my opinion, the 1999 Knicks should be number 1. Yeah, that's right. You heard me.
One in a lockout year?
No, a lockout year. Are you serious?
I mean,
Are you serious?
the season was half fake.
Who the hell cares about the lockout?
I'm holding
missed
the
half
same
the
thing.
season?
Yeah.
No one cares about NBA or NHL lockouts. The playoffs mattered. First of all,
They were a fake 8 seed. That's my point.
They were a pseudo fake 8 seed. I'll give you that. It was an out of nowhere run. That's number 1.
But couldn't have any team have been out of nowhere?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
It was an out of nowhere run. Ewing was hurt. They beat Miami in a Game 5. They beat the Pacers to go to the finals. And again, it was one of the most out of nowhere runs we've ever seen. Like, I don't know, man. To me, the 99...
Does that make it more beloved?
In my opinion, I'm trying to be an IBO here because I'm obviously not a Knicks fan. I would absolutely put them above the 94 Knicks, and clearly they didn't finish ahead of them.
How big of a fan were you then, Loogie?
Oh, huge. I think more fondly.
One last thing. I'm sorry, Tommy.
Go ahead.
LJ, 4-point play. Shut up.
Grandmama.
Shut up.
I think more fondly about that 99 team, the 94 one, because you know why, Teak? You know what I still hear from supporters of that era? Michael Jordan. Reminder, they got to the finals and lost to Hakeem. So Michael Jordan had nothing to do with it. Right. They had an opportunity to win a championship, and they didn't. So I'm more aggravated by that 94 team, where the 99 one was more of the spunky, we got there, great run.
Before you guys argue, I think it's very important to find out who's next, because I want to see if it's the 94 Knicks, and we can further this discussion, or if it's the Giants or the Yankees.
Got it.
Let's just find out. This is number, we're up to number 3.
Number 3, the 1994 New York Knicks.
2 and 8 seconds to go. And here's Workman for the three-point shot. The New York Knicks get into the NBA Finals.
Now you can argue 94 and 98.
Go ahead.
Look, again, as an IBO, Evan, growing up in that 90s era and now living my adulthood looking back, what does everybody talk about? Patrick Ewing. Like you mentioned, Ewing, that was an Allen Houston 99 team. That was Sprewell. Patrick Ewing finally getting to an NBA Finals, all centers around 94. The O.J. Chase stopping. That run, Michael Jordan retires before that. Everything that goes into it, the 94 team was the heartbeat of the city. They're doing it as the Rangers are doing it, the spring of 94.
The Rangers have nothing to do with this.
No. But it adds to the mystique of what that spring meant, and what Knicks fans tingled with.
Okay, so a couple of things I want to address on this.
I was not here.
Patrick Ewing in 1999 got hurt in the middle of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers, and they won the series.
Right.
So let's not act like Ewing wasn't on the team. He wasn't the same guy, obviously.
Yes.
But he was on the team. He was in street clothes celebrating when they won that East. And here's the other thing, and this is a big thing, and I'm pretty consistent because I brought this up with the Mets, so of course I'll bring it up with the Knicks. You didn't beat your biggest rival. Your biggest rival didn't have its best player. And oh, by the way, if it wasn't for a BS call, you would have lost to him anyway in 94 with Chicago.
But they still won. So
they still won, but they didn't beat Jordan, and they barely beat the Jordanless Bulls. I include that. I think that matters.
That definitely factors in, 100%.
Thank you.
And the Pacers and Heat in the other run, to me, when you look at the biggest rivals for the Knicks in my lifetime, Pacers, Heat, Bulls, you could rank them whichever way you want. I would rank the Heat at number 1 for me. So knocking those, I hated Alonzo Mourning, Pat Riley, that smug, the whole operation.
I'll give you another one, and I don't know if the committee used this as a factor, but I would. I think when you lose a championship, that deep in your soul still kills you to this day that you should have freaking won it.
Yeah.
I think it makes it worse. Losing in 1994 was the biggest missed opportunity, arguably, in the history of New York sports.
And that's what you just said, Loogie.
He's right. And in 1999, it was magic. It was a magic run. It was fun. And you lost to a burgeoning dynasty. We didn't realize it at the time. The definition of dynasty is weird, but we saw what Duncan did. We saw what Pop did. We saw what the Spurs did.
They definitely were a dynasty.
Right. I don't know. I think the 99 team is more special than the 94 team.
Dude, when you go back and you think about it, and you ask any Knicks fan, who did you love in the 90s? What do they start? Starts with Ewing, I get it, but that was prime Ewing. Then it goes to Oakley, Mason, Charles Smith.
Starks.
Those guys are not on the 99 Knicks. Okay. Like all the beloved players that Knicks fans scream and yell from the mountaintops about they love are all from the 94 Knicks.
It's Grandmama.
Yes.
That's who you throw out there.
Yes.
What's the most iconic play in the last multiple generations of Knick basketball? So I'm not going to include the 70s when you guys were actually, winning championships. I'm going to include like the last two generations.
A play doesn't make a game or a
LJ,
season.
The Houston game winner.
But it doesn't make a game or a season.
No, but I think it's part of it. I think it's part of it.
Look, I know you're trying to get this out of me, so I'll say it again. That Ewing mid-90s Knick team is the most overrated era of sports in the history of this town. We've had to hear about it forever. They're on a pedestal that every other Knick team that comes after them has to be compared to. They didn't win. I understand they were gritty. I understand they were tough. I understand we love them. I understand the Garden was buzzing. They did not win.
I agree. I wasn't trying to get you to say that, though. But
Sean is, because he's saying, everybody loved those players, and I love them too.
Tommy.
But we forget about 99. We always will knock Carmelo Anthony and Stat. Even this current Knick team, you watch, if they don't win an NBA title, we're going to start hearing about the freaking 90s Knicks again, who did not win.
Neither did the 99 team.
Sean, I get that, but you don't hear about that Sprewell, LJ, can be. You don't hear about that team, and they're not as revered as that first incarnation with Ewing of the earlier 90s.
From a perspective of a Nick hater, the president of the coalition of Nick haters, 99 killed me. A lot more than 94. Well, you should be very proud because we are about to find out from the committee number 2 and number 1 in Almost Champions. It's been a countdown going on all this week in which we have honored the most beloved Almost Champions in New York sports. And I'm very jealous because the final 2 contestants are teams I do not root for. Teams that Sean roots for, and one team that Tiki was on. I mean, and I got to tell you, I love you. Yeah. And I respect the 2000 Giants. Is the committee showing some kind of pro-Tiki bias right now?
I think clearly they are. I mean,
why would they do that?
They're trying to kiss your ass.
The 2000 Giants team was amazing.
Absolutely, no doubt.
It was funnest, one of the funnest runs you could ever have been on, and it culminated in the greatest game you could ever play at home.
And with all due respect to the Jets, there is only on this entire list one football team that in this town that reached a Super Bowl and lost. And I think we all can all understand when you have a 2-week build up to a Super Bowl, those once-a-week playoff games. Evan, kiddo, maybe you'll learn it one day when the Jets get to a Super Bowl. There's something still magical in hindsight as the years pass after a team has lost.
What I am so curious about in that regard is...
That's crazy when you say it like that.
Well, it's true.
It's the only... Yeah. The 2000 Giants are the only football team in our lifetimes, basically, that went to and lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in the of Jets-Giants. Obviously, forget the Buffalo Bills. The Jets only went to 1, they won it. The Giants have been to 5, they won 4 of them. So, yes, it's true. And I've always been curious. Like, I've seen, and this list certainly entailed it, a lot of teams I've watched and rooted for. The 2015 Mets, the 2000 Mets, the 02 Nets, the 03 Nets, right? They were part of my life. I saw my team get close. Never seen them win a championship. I've always wondered if I saw the Jets in a Super Bowl and they lost, what would I be like?
Would you be proud of them? Or would you be upset that they lost and they missed the opportunity to be a champion? That's an interesting question from a fan standpoint.
If it's anything like how I feel about the Nets and the Mets, I'd be pissed. Like, I still, as much as I appreciate those teams, there are still moments from losing that bother me to this day. So I assume I'm still going to have that anger. With that said, now obviously as we reveal number 2, you'll then subsequently know number 1. Here it is. The team that finished number 2 in Almost Champions.
Number 2, the 2000 New York Giants.
Get off my coaches' backs. Get off the players' backs. I'm responsible for the whole thing. I'm raising the stakes right now. This is a poker game. I'm shoving my chips to the middle of the table. I'm raising the ante. Anybody wants in, get in. Anybody wants out, can get out. Okay? This team is going to the playoffs.
Dixon will take it from his own 4. Up to the 10, 15. Breaks right 20. 25, 30. There goes Dixon to the outside. It's a foot race. Ron Dixon in midfield. Ron Dixon's going to score. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. No flags. Lobs it back corner of the end zone for Chuber. He's got a touchdown. Oh, what a play by Collins. He just outworked the defensive back, Robert Tate. The final score, the Giants 41, the Vikings nothing.
There it is, the 2000. You should be proud. That is a good ranking. It's number 2. So congratulations then to what finished in first place. Before we discuss this in depth, we now know number 1. So ladies and gentlemen, the most beloved almost champion in New York sports.
Number 1, the 2001 New York Yankees.
Trying to end it in 5 games. Cameron into right field. Spencer. Yankees for the 4th year in a row have a date with the Fall Classic.
So I got to tell you, man, I'm going to get emotional talking about this, and I am not a Yankee fan. I thought about this long and hard.
Right.
Because I have great respect for what your team accomplished. I have great respect for the Yankees. I have great respect, obviously, for the teams I root for. The more I gave this thought, the more the 2001 Yankees deserve everything. I don't like the Yankees. At least back then I didn't. What they did is so ridiculous when you think about it. I want you to think about all this for a second. They're in the middle of a dynasty. Cool. They went to a 4th straight World Series. Cool. They're down 0-2 to the Oakland A's. Come back. Cool. They beat one of the greatest regular season teams in the history of the sport, the Seattle Mariners. That's all cool. But they did something else that no other team has. Not the Mets, not the nobody. I can play you clips from that World Series, the one they lost, and you will tear up, and you will get emotional, and your spine will tingle in a happy way, even though they lost the series. And yes, it has a lot to do with September 11th and the emotions we all felt in this city right after.
Right.
But what they did in that World Series, and I admit I was rooting against them, but the more I hear the clips over and over again, the more I'm like, man, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? As much as I hated the Yankees. So I get it. In fact, I got to play a few things for you. Because if this doesn't make you tear up, I don't know what will. Let me start with Joe Torre. I had never heard this before. The Yankees just beat the Mariners, 116 wins. They're going to the World Series, and they're calm, Teak. They're not even celebrating. It's a very casual celebration, and there could be two reasons for this. Number one, fourth straight, no big deal.
Right.
But that's not the real reason. The real reason is because how the hell could they celebrate?
Right, a month and a half after.
How could they?
Yeah, you can't.
And I think that's a part of it. So Joe Torre had a glass of wine in his hands in front of his players, and he made this speech that was captured on TV, and I must have missed it. Here it is, if you haven't heard it for the first time, after the Yankees won the American League pennant.
I have no idea what I'm going to say, but I'm going to try it. Guys, I have never been prouder of a group of men in my life. Whatever motivated us, I know the NY in your cap did a great deal of it because of what went on September 11th. But to be down 0-2 to one of the best clubs in Major League Baseball and to never doubt yourself. There's nothing that could ever buy that for you, boys. I want to tell you that right now. I am so proud. You are, and I've had some championship clubs. I haven't done this for a long time in my life, but this ball club will be remembered by me forever because you had heart as big as this city, and you showed what being New Yorkers is all about. God bless you.
Yeah! I mean,
yeah.
I think this is the first time I ever thought this. I'm listening to this when I was doing research, and I said to myself, this is the first time I actually regret that I rooted against them.
You rooted against them in this World Series?
The whole time. Yeah. I didn't like the Yankees. Like, they're in the middle of a dynasty. It's very normal, but...
How old were you in this?
I was 18 years old.
So you weren't old enough to realize, like, the history of it, like to be on the wrong side of that history.
Well,
meaning just rooting history. Because obviously we're all rooting for New York.
Of course,
fandom history. But I think in real time, because we experienced this as a Giant team, like we were so much a part. At least we felt so much a part of that recovery. Because sports was a distraction, as became a cliche over those and during that time period, where it gave you something else to think about other than the tragedy that's literally sitting right in front of you.
Right.
And so sports was a tonic that was, I don't know, it was so important and necessary. Because where else were you getting that?
Right.
You just weren't.
You're right.
So when the Yankees went to the World Series, and again, it felt like it was going to be over quick. And then they blitzed through 3 in a row, or at least not really, because they went extra innings in a couple of those. But it just felt like it was destined to happen.
It felt destined. And, like, I remember the arguments I had at the time, because I'm 18 years old. 9/11 was fresh in my mind. It scared the crap out of me. It scared the crap out of all of us. We all lost people we knew. And yet what I would say to people was, yeah, I'm not rooting for the Yankees because it's baseball. Like, that's it. It's nothing personal. I love my city. I can't root for the Yankees. It's like, there's nothing crazy about that. And I've stood by that for 20 years. Like, why wouldn't I? But I think listening back to that, listening back to some of the, we got to play 2 more of that. I mean, I'm going to hear it. I'm going to get teared up. And I can't believe it because I didn't like the Yankees at the time. Made me think, oh, my God, they're doing this. And the one that really jumps out at me, I know I sent you a few, Tommy, it's the Brocious one. So the Yankees were down 2-0. They win Game 3. They stunningly win Game 4. That's when Tino the Bambino hit the home run to tie it. The next night, they're in the same situation. And Scott Brocious hit a home run to tie it. I think this is John Sterling's greatest call of his entire career. I don't think there's anything better than this. And this is why, to me, no offense to any other team that we talked about, your team, the Mets teams, it is just not close. It's always been the 0-1 Yankees. It should be the 0-1 Yankees. We need to acknowledge the 0-1 Yankees because no team could lose a series or a game and have moments that still make you tear up and smile the way the 0-1 Yankees. Here's Scott Brocious tying the game in the ninth inning of Game 5.
Posada is the base runner, so Brocious, of course, the tying run with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. Now Kim, 1-0. Swung on and hit in the air to deep left. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. I don't believe it. Once again, deja vu. A 2-out, game-time 2-run home run by Scott Brocious. Probably the most unbelievable feat in World Series history. Scott Brocious ties the game with a 2-run home run. What was it Al Michaels said? Do you believe in miracles? 56,000 Yankee fans here say, yes, we do.
Tremendous call by John. And a tremendous series, even though they lost. More on this in a few minutes, but we have a Jalen Brunson update. So let's go to our Jalen Brunson ankle desk and find out the latest. Of course, late last night in the game against the Lakers in overtime, it appeared to be a sprained ankle. We opened the show with it at 2 o'clock. Obviously, big concerns about the severity of it. What's the latest on Jalen Brunson?
Okay, this is from Ian Begley, of course, SNY. I don't know the severity of JB's ankle injury, but the x-ray of the injury last night came back negative.
Well,
Initial image showed no broken bones.
So that's good.
Well, it's not the bones you worry about. It's the ligaments that you have to worry about.
So what does that tell you, if anything?
Well, I mean, I didn't think it was a broken bone. It's the ligament damage that determines the grade of the sprain, as we were talking about earlier, whether that's grade 1, 2, or 3. 3 obviously is a long time, 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 weeks, whereas grade 1, it could be a couple weeks.
Yeah, grade 1 is 1 to 2 weeks. Grade 2 is 3 to 6. A grade 3, which is a disaster, is 6 to 12.
Yes.
Which is the playoffs, clearly.
Right. I mean, that's months. If it's the back end of that, he's not playing for the rest of the season.
So that determination doesn't tell us really the answer yet.
No, it doesn't.
So it's an update, but it's still not the update I think we're looking for. And I wonder sometimes with the Knicks, are we going to get that update? Are we going to get, okay, here's what it is. It's a grade 1, it's a grade 2, it's a grade 3, or will this be kind of clouded in mystery for a while?
I would guess the way they do business, it's going to be clouded in mystery. We're not going to find out. It's just one of these days. Hopefully it's in the next couple of weeks. He'll be questionable.
Yeah.
That's how they, I mean, that's the same. That's what happened with OG.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago. It was, man, he could be out for 2 months. Oh, wait, he's questionable. And he plays 2 days later.
Right.
The only good thing, not good thing, but the only thing that we might get the real answer is Brunson has a podcast. So he could just say whatever the heck he wants on that. We don't have to worry about the Knicks giving us information. He does a podcast.
The reason I'd say don't get your hopes up is I think he pre-records a lot of his episodes. Like I don't
but
think
they're going to have to put a couple in the can here.
Right, they're not topical of what's happening right now.
Like
they're evergreen, so you can throw them anytime.
The podcast he's going to record now will be aired in about 9 weeks. So
you really think it goes that? You as a podcast person, you think that they pre-record 9 weeks?
I'm not.
In advance?
Well, Evan's podcast are very different.
Yeah,
not in the off season. They're not.
Well, the Rico Bronya is mostly about what's happening now, but even in the off season, he'll throw one in about what just happened yesterday.
Yeah, it's not the same at all. He's also a professional athlete who tours, who's in different cities all the time.
Right.
So I don't actually know how many weeks delayed it is, but they're not talking about current events a lot on their podcast.
Right.
It's interviews. Like they have a James Dolan interview. That could have been interviewed like 3 months ago.
Because in the podcast they dropped about a week ago, they discussed the 0-7 at the time to elite teams. So they were talking about something topical.
So maybe they do have some that are updated.
So you never know.
Right.
But and I do think if this was, I hate speculating, but I do think if this was worst case, they would tell us. If he was
if he was going to miss up until the playoffs,
Because you know what? That's totally unfair to your fan base if you
would
do that.
hope they would.
Right. You better tell us he's out for the year if he is. That's just unfair for the fans to have to sit here day by day when you know that he's out.
How long would it usually take for them to know how severe that sprain is?
A couple of days.
Okay. So there you go. It hasn't even been 24 hours
and
yet.
they are on the West Coast.
Right.
So I'm sure they have, I don't know, reciprocation at some hospital or imaging place, but we probably won't get full clarity until they're back here.
Yeah. So the truth is that update really didn't tell us anything.
Right.
Just to be honest with you.
But thank you, Sean. We appreciate you.
Thank you anyway. Now, Sean, as a Yankee Giant fan, are you good with the results from the committee or not really?
it's very.
Wait, so tell me, how old were you in 2000?
So this is perfect. The 2000 Yankees, 2000 Giants into 2001 Yankees. We're talking about my ages 13 and a half to 15 years old. And now you can imagine as a sports fan.
So you were heavily in the impressionable
Exactly.
years. Right.
To me, and this is very personalized, the 2000 Giants are, forget the teams that have won or lost, my favorite sports team of all time. So I know that sounds crazy because I love the 2001 Yankees too, of course, everything they did for the city. But there was always something, and I guess maybe this lends to the football stuff. As much as I love the baseball, the hockey, the once-a-week aspect. And for the first time in your life, the impressionable age, your football team gets an invitation to the party.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the idea of the Super Bowl. Think about the NBA Finals, the World Series. That's great. The Super Bowl, the Giants are going to the freaking Super Bowl. There was something about it. Also, they were scrappy, underdogs, the Jim Fossil speech, the moments that happened
Which, by the way, is maybe one of the most brilliant speeches in the history of New York sports. Because if we don't turn it around, he's fired.
He's fired.
And if we do, he's a genius.
Big wins versus the Cowboys. Then you get the hated Eagles at home in the divisional round. You start the game with a kick return for a touchdown. One of the most amazing pick sixes.
No offensive touchdown in that game.
Yeah, the season starts with the lightning bolt, the thunderstorm. It starts the thunder and lightning. There's something about the 2000 team that, to this day, like I have posters, everything else. I don't know. Like, to me, that solidified me as a football fan forever was that team.
And the 01 Yankees means what to you? Because I get it. It's at the end of a dynasty. There's a weird sadness to it. Because I'll never forget, Francesa said to me, I think he called in once during a show because we were talking about like worst losses, and he said Game 701 was the worst.
I mean, it had to be. You had Mariano on the mound.
I get
with the lead.
I'm not arguing that. It was when Alfonso Soriano hit the game-winning home run in the 8th inning. That John Sterling also had another brilliant call for what we thought was the game-winning home run in the 8th inning. Like, you thought you were about to win a 4th straight World Series. Yes, I get it, but I think when you incorporate all the other things we talked about, despite it featuring this brutal loss at the end, like, they beat the 116-win Mariners. They had these incredible comebacks in the World Series. It was after 9/11. They were... I don't know. Maybe that's my bias as a fan of neither team, actually, you know?
I've obviously lived through bad Yankee postseason losses, right? And this past World Series, maybe I'll look back on a little better as the years go on, but 2003 bothers me to no end. I think it's twofold with 01, and that's why they do deserve to be right there. One or two is the idea of 9/11 and the idea of you lived with the losses because of the magical nights, especially those couple nights at Yankee Stadium, the Mr. November. Think about all the World Series they won. Jeter's finest moment is Mr. November in a World Series loss.
Well, that's the crazy part. Like,
yeah, you can enjoy it in a loss with baseball where you can't in football.
Right.
But the Super Bowl, like the Super Bowl. The final game.
Yeah.
So take the obviously your game. There's no...
You know what? The Yankees won games. The Giants didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got destroyed.
The Giant one is easy because it is one game you got destroyed, so we put that aside. But let's look at the Knicks and the Nets and the Mets, the teams that had series. You know, they won games in those series. There is nothing, I'm sorry, in the Knicks of 94, the Knicks of 99, the Mets of 15, the Mets of 2000. There's nothing in those individual games that comes anywhere close to Tino, to Jeter, to Soriano, and to Brocious, which is my personal favorite of it. Like, they're ridiculous. They're in Yankee lore, even though they lost the series, and you can't say that about any other best-of-7 series loss that we've seen.
I completely agree. And you're coming off a three-peat, too. So it's often that you walk away going, all right, it wasn't like that was our only chance we've seen in our life to get there. I know it sounds very piggish, but it's also the truth.
I promise I'm not being a jerk here. That 2001 series, in all my life as a sports fan, that is the most stunned I've ever been at an outcome. I thought for sure, just like everyone else, when Soriano hit that homer, that it was over. Well, like, I was stunned disbelief when they lost that.
But you know what? What's funny about that? It was the second most stunned I was in the series. Because the first most stunned, I'm sorry, was Scott Brocious. Like, when the Yankees are down on their backs again, they already had the magic last night. That's the way I looked at it. They already did it last night. When Scott Brocious down to the final out does it again against BK Kim, I will argue that's actually the most stunned I think I've ever been watching sports. Because I'm like, no. No. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And I was angry, I admit it. Like, because I'm an 18-year-old kid who didn't like the Yankees.
I mean, they just beat the Mets in the World Series the year before. There was a lot of hatred
That's
there,
why
for sure.
I feel good saying I rooted against them. But I also feel good in 2025 with a clear head 24 years later to say, you know what? it would have been cool if they won. And that's okay.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if they won that World Series, obviously they don't win this little contest because they would have won the World Series. But would that really have changed my life as a Yankee hater in any kind of way? So I didn't have the Luis Gonzalez. So they have one more title. What difference does it make?
And you got to dance in 03 and 04 anyway on the Yankees.
Right.
Had we known that going ahead, looking ahead, perhaps we would have been okay with them winning in 01.
But that's why I'm saying it today. And it's the first time I've ever uttered it or ever thought it. I look back on it and say, they should have won the World Series. I would have been good with it. Now I would have been good with it.
They should have.
They should have. And that's why they deserve this.
The problem is a very tall man named Randy Johnson.
I would say the big problem was Mariano Rivera making a bad throw.
That's true. That's true.
We don't need to play the infield in either.
Right.
There's a lot of things.
And the other thing for Tiki Super Bowl team, and I think Sean was saying this, so I agree with him, the fact that they got to that Super Bowl, for me at least, was enough. And I look back at that Raven team and how great they were. But it also reminds me that it's just a joke that Fossil never got another head coaching job, and I think it's good that we're acknowledging how his speech and everything he said there.
May he rest in peace.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite human beings I've ever met on the planet, or now he's underground, but you know what I mean. Best coach I've ever had, because he believed in me.
I get that.
When nobody else wanted to.
I think that where the 2000 Giants are very special compared to every other team is every other team lost to somebody that can't be defined by just their name. And what I mean by that is the 2015 Kansas City Royals, okay.
Right.
The 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks, okay. Yeah, it is what it is. Even the 2000 Yankees, they won 87 games that year. They collapsed down the stretch. That was not the best of their teams.
Right.
The 2000 Ravens are iconic. You're the only one on this list that lost to a team that not just won a championship, of course.
It's top 3 in NFL history, defense-wise.
It's an iconic franchise.
Right.
That year will always be defined as it's 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens. And that's kind of special. I don't know if that makes you feel better.
We couldn't operate the way we operated with them, with their lineup.
Right.
They were constructed perfectly to defend what we did. And so we had, I don't want to say we had no chance, but we essentially only scored on a kickoff return.
Yeah.
Which they returned the next kickoff back.
Right.
So it got washed immediately.
No, I get you. Well, congratulations to the 2001 Yankees, the winner of Almost Champions.